charges with 2 counsels pending. NDLEA foils attempt by a nursing student to smuggle 76 wraps of cocaine to India. On the foreign scene, 3 released hostages back in Israel after being freed in Gaza ceasefire. Good evening, this is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Okpayamuni. The death toll from yesterday's tanker explosion at Diko Junction, Gurara local government area of Niger State, has risen to 86. This is according to a statement by the Niger State Emergency Management Agency. The Director General Abdullahi Baba Ara said the remains of the deceased were recovered and buried in a mass grave at Diko Primary Health Care premises. 5 others were handed over to their families for burial within the town, and 1 individual succumbed to injuries at the Diko PHC. The agency also said the number of injured individuals had risen to 55. Following the incident, the Niger State Government directed that no vehicle coming from the Maje axis should be allowed to pass through the Diko Bridge. Governor Marubago gave the directive when he visited the scene of explosion. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the fuel tanker explosion, which caused the death of over 80 people, with many also injured. The devastating explosion occurred yesterday at Diko Junction, Gurara local government area of Niger State, bringing about an immense human toll. According to a statement today by President Tinubu's spokesperson, Bayon Onuga, the president mourned the victims and expressed his condolences to the families affected, as well as to the government and people of Niger State. He underscored the tragic and preventable nature of the incident, as many victims were said to be those scooping premium motor spirit from the overturned tanker. Mr. Onuga said the president has directed the provision of comprehensive medical care to the injured and instructed security and road safety authorities to implement measures to avert similar incidents. He stated that President Tinubu strongly advised all citizens to exercise caution and avoid approaching accident sites, especially those involving fuel-laden vehicles, due to their highly explosive nature. Additionally, the president has mandated the National Orientation Agency to initiate a nationwide educational campaign to raise public awareness about the severe risks and environmental dangers of scooping fuel from falling tankers. To politics, the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) has won 16 out of the 18 chairmanship seats in the local government elections in Ondo State. The chairman of the Ondo State Independent Electoral Commission, Joseph Ayemo, declared these at the headquarters of the commission in Akure today. He noted that while the rescheduled election is being held in Ondo West local government area, results are being expected from our local government area. Only 12 political parties contested for the chairmanship and councillorship offices in the elections held yesterday. Ahead of the poll, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, announced its decision to withdraw from the election, saying it does not believe in the Ondo State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct a credible election. In Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has reaffirmed his commitment to safeguarding the soul of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state. Governor Fubara stated this while addressing members of the PDP Youth Leadership Forum during the court's visit to the government house. The governor emphasized the need for loyalty, unity, and resilience to ensure the party's continued strength and relevance. He acknowledged the challenges within the party and explained that some decisions might have been misunderstood, but were necessary to uphold good governance. Governor Fubara also appealed for collective efforts to address internal party issues and promote national unity, stressing the importance of preserving Nigeria's stability. On the spot, the chairman of the PDP Youth Leaders Forum, Jamilu Ali Kalshingi, commended Governor Fubara's dedication to preserving the unity and integrity of the PDP. He expressed delight over the recent court judgments affirming the election of local government chairman in Rivers State and the judgment nullifying the PDP congresses. In other news, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) has thwarted an attempt by a 26-year-old nursing student, Esther Onyeyechi Uzodinma, to smuggle 76 wraps of cocaine to India. Esther, a 200-level student of Noida International University, Uttar Pradesh, was apprehended at Royal Park Hotel, Sabungeri, Kano, hours before a scheduled Qatar Airways flight today on 17th January 2025. This was disclosed in a statement by the agency's Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, who said our arrest followed a sting operation in which a courier, Cosmas Okorie, was intercepted while transporting the cocaine concealed in an audio speaker. In a statement, Esther claimed the drug cartel she was working for had recruited her in India and paid for a trip to Nigeria to enjoy the Christmas and New Year holidays. Esther said she was promised over $5,000 upon successful delivery of the illicit consignment. Additionally, NDLEA officers arrested 4 suspects along the Okene-Lokoja-Abuja highway transporting over 38,000 tramadol pills concealed in audio speakers and clothing destined for Maiduguri, Kano, and Abuja. The Katsina State Police Command says it successfully neutralized 7 suspected bandits after foiling their attack on Ruwan Dorowa village in Dutsima local government area of the state. The operation also resulted in the recovery of 109 rustled animals comprising 61 cows, 44 sheep, 2 donkeys, 1 goat, and 1 dog. The police spokesman, DSP Abubakar Sadiq, in a statement said the bandits were armed with dangerous weapons such as AK-47 rifles. He said upon receipt of the report, the police, in collaboration with the military, DSS, members of the Katsina Community Security Watch Corps, and the vigilante, mobilized and responded to the scene. The State Commissioner of Police, Ali Abubakar Musa, while commending the exceptional display of gallantry and professionalism of the operatives, reiterated the commitment of the command towards ensuring the safety and security of members of the public. In Ogun State, gunmen have shot and killed a 54-year-old prophet of the Celestial Church of Christ's Eagle Parish in the Odoeron Idiroko area of the state. The gunmen opened fire on the cleric during an active Sunday service and then escaped. The police spokesperson in the state, Omolola Odutola, confirmed the incident in a statement today. He said that police officers got to the scene and discovered Wonju Miadetula, a 54-year-old man lying face up in a pool of blood that stained his white celestial garment. She also confirmed that upon closer inspection, his body was found to be riddled with bullets and his head was severely damaged, with an axe to verify that he was indeed dead. According to her, no arrest has been made, but she maintained that the police were actively working to apprehend the fleeing suspects who escaped from the church towards the border area. The body of the dead prophet has been deposited at the General Hospital morgue in Ilaro. The Nigerian Immigration Service has raised the alarm about the emergence of a new sect known as a Child Life Mission International in the Northwest Zone. According to the NIS, the new sect, which is reportedly linked to human trafficking and child separation, has its headquarters in Kaduna State, while its leader, simply identified as Yokana, lives in Jos Plateau State. In a circular issued by the Principal Staff Officer to the Comptroller General of NIS, A. Aridegbe, the service alerted all state commands, directorates, zones, and training institutions about the activities of the new sect. NIS urged its officials to stay vigilant and report immediately any sign of the sect, and where possible arrest and revert accordingly. Moving on, a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dezani Alisi Madueke, has distanced herself from the ownership of $52.5 million recently repatriated to Nigeria from the United States of America, breaking her silence in the matter through a statement issued by counsel Mike Ozekome. The former minister insisted that there was nothing like Dezani loot, since she had no hand whatsoever in the issues surrounding the forfeiture of the money by the owner. Stating her position, Mrs. Alisi Madueke said the $52.5 million came from a vessel seized by the American government from Kuala Lumpur, and which was later sold, and proceeds returned to the federal government of Nigeria. His statement described the media reports as a clear example of the mischievous and cruel efforts to tarnish the image of a former minister through consistent, persistent, and unrelenting cocktail of falsehood and misinformation. The statement added that the law should be allowed to take its natural course without interference. In Akwa Ibom State, the government has reported the outbreak of a few cases of cholera in Meroke, Eastern Obolo local government area of the state. The permanent secretary, Ministry of Health in the state, said, who announced this in a statement on Sunday, said health officials have already visited a secondary health facility in the state to ascertain the exact number of cases as a result of the disease. He further said the state epidemiologists had been sent to the community to begin enlightenment campaigns on ways to mitigate the outbreak, which came with symptoms of diarrhea and vomiting. He advised the public to report all suspected cases of cholera to the Director of Public Health. You are watching News at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come, Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Polytechnic announces plan to embark on 3-day warning strike. We'll bring you more on this when we return.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was an anti-apartheid activist who gave his all for the elimination of what has been described as the world's most vicious rule of the unjust and man's inhumanity against man. He was born July 18, 1918 in Mvezo, South Africa. Educated and trained as a successful legal practitioner, he took up the gauntlet of a human activist against segregation by the minority white suprematists in South Africa. At the climax of his trial for treason, orchestrated by the minority South African government, the great crusader for democratic equality was prepared to pay the supreme sacrifice to establish majority rule in his native land. He told white jurists that if achieving freedom for his people was worth his life, he was prepared to die. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in Robben Island, described as the most notorious prison in the world. It was from this same prison that he came out as a free man to assume office as South Africa's first black president in 1994. Western Spring Television identifies Nelson Mandela as a watershed character in history.
Our comedy is winning fans globally, but we are losing our wildlife to illegal bushmeat, and this is not funny at all. If we continue this way, we will risk losing all our animals and leaving nothing behind for the generations to come. Tell your family and friends not to buy or sell illegal bushmeat, because protecting nature protects us all.
welcome back. This is still News at 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. President Bola Tinubu orders nationwide educational campaign after deadly fuel tanker explosion in Niger State. All Progressives Congress APC wins 16 chairmanship seats in Ondo State local government elections with 2 councils pending. And the LEA foils attempt by nursing student to smuggle 76 wraps of cocaine to India. On the foreign scene, 3 released hostages back in Israel after being freed in Gaza ceasefire. The Senior Staff Association of Niger Polytechnic has announced the plan to embark on a 3-day warning strike over what is described as a threat to the career progression of its members. This was contained in a letter sent to the Ministry of Labor alongside the National Board for Technical Education and the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. The letter, which was signed by the National Secretary of the Union, Nura Gaya, noted that the union has made efforts to engage with the government on the plot to deprive non-teaching staff of polytechnics career progression in the civil service to no effect. The union, however, noted that it remains open to constructive dialogue and hopes that this matter will be resolved amicably to avert further disruptions in the polytechnic system. In the United States, President-elect Donald Trump will take a victory lap on Sunday with a campaign-style rally in Washington, D.C., a day before he is sworn in for a second time 4 years after losing the White House to Joe Biden. Trump's Make America Great Again victory rally at the Capital One Arena marks his first major speech in Washington since he urged his supporters to march on the Capitol on January 6, 2021 in protest against his defeat. Thousands of people breached the building in an unsuccessful effort to prevent Congress from certifying the results. Trump has vowed to pardon many of the more than 1,500 people charged in connection with the attack. His rally remarks, along with his inaugural address on Monday, could offer a preview of a tone he plans to adopt in the early days of his second term in office. We now connect to Toyosi Adedara, a PhD student at Baylor University in Texas, USA. Mr. Adedara taught social studies and civic education for almost 5 years before going for his PhD. He joins us via Zoom. Thanks for joining us on News at 7, Mr. Adedara.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, now to the inauguration. Trump 2.0 begins tomorrow, Monday, with the inauguration of Donald Trump. What is the mood like across the U.S. at this particular time?
Generally, it's very calm compared to 2020 when President Biden came in. A lot of division among people. We saw what happened at the Capitol, where some of Donald Trump's supporters marched to the Capitol so that they wouldn't certify the results. But this time, it seems like there's a general consensus among people. Like, it's easier to say because I'm in Texas, which is a very, very red state, very, very heavily Republican. But generally, it seems like there's a general consensus that things need to change, especially on the economic side of the country. So it's very calm. Everybody is going on with their normal duties and are looking forward to the inauguration tomorrow.
All right. In a show-like manner, many people, wanted to actually attend this particular inauguration, but due to weather conditions, it seems that many people will not be able to attend tomorrow. We have to stay somewhere. What's your take on that?
That's true. A lot of people are not attending for different reasons, and weather being one of those reasons. People like the former First Lady Michelle Obama, who has publicly stated that she wouldn't be attending, and other people like former President Bill Clinton as well. But generally, people are not attending because of the way they feel about it. I don't think the weather is it's just an excuse, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But when you look at the issue of the weather in the United States generally, one of the reasons why people wanted the Biden administration out was the issue of the one you call climate change. They felt like they pushed too much agenda of climate change, in which I think I'm an advocate of by myself. And the idea of drill, baby, drill that Donald Trump campaigned on in Alaska, saying that they need to start drilling, they need to start putting more oil, fossil fuels into the society to reduce energy cost. But on the long run, we see the impact of that in the climate. And one of the reasons is that we see is the climate change and how cold it's likely going to be in Washington, D.C. So there's the irony of that. But in general, soon to be former Vice President Kamala Harris made was that when you lose, you have to concede and not rile up, protest or make people have a reason to believe the election was a fraud. So a lot of those things that happened 4 years ago is still at the back of some people's mind. So that's one of the reasons why when your own person doesn't emerge in a democratic setting, you are supposed to accept, right? But because of the kind of treatment they got in 2020, they want to sort of dish that out as well and say that, we don't recognize you as our president. We are an illegitimate president. So we see that around Houston, some parts of Dallas as well in Texas, and so part of Washington, D.C., people saying that calling Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, different names, So I think it's about people's opinion and how people feel. And America today is still very, very divided. When President Barack Obama emerged as president, we thought it's a beginning of a situation whereby the country will come together more. But what we see after subsequent elections is a nation that is becoming more and more, divided on party lines, and that's what we see in society today in America.
All right, Trump is returning for a second term. Come to think of it, are there signs that, this new term will be different from his first term in office?
I am not really anticipating much differences. If there's going to be any difference, it would be him doing more than what he did years ago in 2016 when he came into office. He has campaigned on some major things, and one of it is immigration and the economy. The economy, which I believe is as a result of the adverse effect of the pandemic. I think one of the things that the Democratic Party did not do very well was educating the public to help them see that even in the UK, in Australia, in Canada, the economy is tough everywhere all over the world. That's the adverse effect of the pandemic. But that was used very well by the Republicans to campaign, because the average American just wants to buy groceries at a very cheap cost, wants to be able to afford grocery every month. They don't care how you do it. They just want a life that is comfortable. They are used to that. Unlike back home in Nigeria, when there's hardship, we tend to just cope. They don't want that. So we will see some policies like tax cuts, a lot of huge tax cuts, and then we would see things like fracking that I talked about, which is drill, baby, drill, whereby Donald Trump would try to bring down energy costs. And we know that energy trickles down to every part of the society. Companies who produce things would buy fuel at cheaper rates, automatically reducing prices of goods and services, in which the Biden administration did not support, because they believe that you need to save the earth, and therefore we don't need to drill in Alaska. So we see that, and then especially about immigration, which was also something he campaigned on, which would be tightened up very, 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 very well. In 2016, he said he was going to build a wall through Mexico and ensure that Mexico paid for that. That did not happen. I'm interested to see if he would try to push the agenda one more time. Also, the social issues like LGBTQ rights, the rights of women, abortion, those things are one of the things I think it would really push to ensure that those things are solidified. But most importantly, I think economically, we would see a lot of changes with the foreign policy like China and other organizations like that. It would bring a lot of the one is talking about the things it would do to China. Like, I'm trying to get the right word. Anyway, so trade policies with China would change, whereby production would be done more in America, which might also increase prices of goods and services. So there's a lot of changes that we are looking at in the next 4 years under the Trump administration.
All right, looking at this deportation of a thing, it seems all around the world, in Africa, in so many places now, there's this palpable fear in the minds of the people, like, when Trump comes in, lots of people will be deported. What's your take on that? Do you see that really happening this time around, tackling the people, deporting a lot of people out of the United States?
As much as I'm not a very huge fan of anti-immigration policies, I sort of agree with some of the things Donald Trump is trying to do. I do not believe that it's going to take people out of the nation forcefully, because I think the United States is a nation that respects human rights and has been the forefront of that in the United Nations. So if you are in the country legally and you have your papers, I think you'll be fine. I think people that are more worried are people who enter the country illegally, or people that have overstayed their visas. And that is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you could overstay your visa and what you're doing in the United States might still be valid. And people would say, people who have entered the country legally have families already, have children here, have made friends. The children are going to the same school as their neighbors. They've never broken any law, right? So those people, would they not be given benefit of the doubt that if you've been in the country for a long time and you've not caused any troubles? So I think there's a sentiment to that, but I think you've still broken the law by entering the country illegally. The only thing I'm just concerned about is families that will be broken, especially when you have children that are citizens that were born in the United States and parents that are not. So what do? The incoming border czar of Donald Trump has said that they would have to separate the families, and in situations whereby they don't want to separate the families, they can deport both citizens and the parents as well. I think that's a gray area that we still need to sort out, that the government will need to look into. And he's also said that it would pursue the citizenship rights of any person born in America. I don't think that's going to be possible, because that would require constitutional amendment. And about 1/3 of the people in the Congress in the United States were people of, immigrant parents that were born in the United States. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't think anybody needs to worry. I think everybody needs to calm down. As long as you are here legally, you'll be fine. But if you're not, I think that's where you might be worried. So I don't think Donald Trump is a crazy man. I think he does want what's best for the United States. All
right, there is a temporary ceasefire. I'm going to the war between Gaza and Israel right now. There is a temporary ceasefire now, and some of the hostages are being released, today. Can we attribute this to the inauguration of Donald Trump coming in tomorrow? Can we attribute this to that same effect? Because he once said he was going to stop this particular war. We end it. Though he didn't tell us how he wanted to do that. But just a day before his inauguration, we are already seeing stabs, ceasefire already, hostages are being released. What's your take?
I can't say for sure, but I think it has something to do with him coming in. Everybody knows who President Trump is. If he says he wants to do something, he's going to do it. He doesn't bluff, So he's a type of the orthodox type of president that in some ways has found a way to use democracy effectively without breaking the law. And I think, frankly, that's probably what we need in the world today. a leader who is not afraid to make hard decisions. I believe that diplomacy should always be the first step. Obviously should, but Donald Trump doesn't like spending too much time on the diplomatic table. If it's not working out, it takes action. We saw what he did with the former Iranian one of the generals that was killed. We've seen those things, drastic measures is taken. He talked about the meeting he had with the North Korean president about how he told him that, I know you have a button in your country that you can push a nuclear bomb or whatever, but I have a bigger button. I think you should know that. Those things profess strength to the public. And because people know that when he says he would do something, he would do it. So the rest of the world wants to fall in line. So I want to agree to some extent that it's part of the reasons why we're seeing ceasefire is because the president is coming to the table. He's becoming president soon, and we would see a lot of drastic changes in foreign policy, in American foreign policies.
All right, lastly, before I let you go, let's talk about the ban on TikTok in America. How is it like? People have been using this particular app for years, and all of a sudden, it's off. But Donald Trump said he was going to do something about it.
Yes, he did say he would do something about it, but this is something that came from the Congress. It's not. This is not something that came from the executive arm of government. The Congress has talked about securing the nation. The NSA has talked about protecting the country and said, because TikTok belongs to the Chinese government, and you have American teenagers and American people putting their names, their social security number. I don't know, maybe social security number is required. I'd have to fact check that. But you see people putting information that are personal into TikTok to register, and those things are, might be accessed by the Chinese government. That's the concern. And in some ways, TikTok has also become a rival to other American platforms like X, like Instagram, like Facebook. So you see, it's as much as it's a security measure, I think, it's also an economical thing, in my opinion. So the government is trying to protect the interest of the American companies, technological companies, and also security concerns. I remember when I was watching when the Congress was asking the CEO of TikTok questions about how he maybe had any allegiance to the Chinese government, and he kept repeating that I'm Singaporean, I don't have any allegiance to the Chinese government. But on the other side, they feel like there's something going on that they are not privy to, and that's the reason for the ban. So I feel so sorry for people who have grown accounts, in there, in some ways, that their way of life, that's where they make money to pay their bills. It's really sad, but it's always America first. I don't know what President Trump would do. I can project that President Trump might likely stick with the ban based on his previous policies. It's looked like a Trump-ish kind of thing to keep the ban, but who knows? You never know what you're going to get with President Trump.
All right, sincere appreciations to you, Mr. Toyo Zadidara, for joining us on News at 7 tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I've been speaking with Mr. Toyo Zadidara, a PhD student at Baylor University in Texas, USA. Mr. Zadidara taught social studies and civic education for almost 5 years before going for his PhD, and we have been speaking with him via Zoom so far. All right, we'll be back after this short break. Do stay with us.